Rain poured down heavily, soaking Maya Johnson as she stood outside her parents' house. Her suitcase sat beside her, its wheels covered in mud. She had just come from the city, tired but hopeful, thinking she was finally going home. But instead of a welcome, she faced the sound of a key turning, the door locking shut. Her father stood behind it, his voice cold and sharp. "You're no longer part of this family," he said without looking her in the eye. For a moment, Maya froze. She thought she hadn't heard him right. The man she had worked so hard to please all her life, the man she'd just sent her life savings to help, was shutting her out. "Daddy, what are you saying?" she whispered, her voice breaking. Her mother stood by the window, arms crossed, eyes red but dry. She didn't speak. She didn't even look at Maya. And her younger brother, Daniel, the one she used to help with everything, avoided her gaze completely. Maya's chest tightened. The rain made it hard to see, but it wasn't just the water in her eyes. It was heartbreak. Just 2 months ago, her father had called her in panic, saying the bank was about to take their house. She had wired him $20,000, every dollar she'd saved over the years, because she believed family always came first. And now this? She knocked again, desperate. "Please tell me what's going on." But her father only said one thing before turning away. "You brought shame to this family. Don't ever come back." The door shut for good. Maya stood in the rain, her heart pounding so loud it drowned out the thunder. None of this made sense. What shame? What had she done wrong? Her suitcase felt heavier than ever as she dragged it off the porch. Her mother's face flashed in her mind. Not angry, not sad, just empty. Daniel's too, cold, avoiding her like a stranger. As Maya walked down the street, shivering, one thought echoed in her mind. They told me never to come back, but I couldn't leave knowing what I'd just discovered. Maya grew up in a modest Nigerian-American household in Atlanta. Her family didn't have much, but they always tried to look strong in front of others. From a young age, Maya was the responsible one, the girl who studied hard, helped around the house, and made sure everyone else was okay. While other kids played after school, she was often cooking, cleaning, or helping her younger brother, Daniel, with his homework. Her father, Pastor Samuel Johnson, was well known in their church. People respected him deeply. They called him a man of faith, a leader, a father to many. But behind closed doors he was strict and proud. Everything in their home had to happen his way. If he said something, no one was allowed to question it. Maya's mother, Esther, was quiet and gentle. She rarely spoke against her husband, even when she disagreed. She believed peace was better than argument, and she often told Maya, "One day, you'll understand that silence keeps a family together." Daniel, Maya's younger brother, was the golden child. He could do no wrong in their father's eyes. When he skipped classes or made mistakes, their father would laugh and say, "Boys will be boys." But when Maya got a B instead of an A, it turned into a sermon about responsibility. She learned early on that love in their house had conditions. You had to earn it. After college, Maya got a job in marketing at a small company in the city. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. Every month, she sent part of her salary home to help with groceries, church donations, and Daniel's tuition. She rarely kept anything for herself. Her dream of moving into her own apartment or traveling somewhere new always stayed on hold. Still, Maya believed she was doing the right thing. Family first, she told herself whenever she felt tired. Over the years, the Johnsons began to struggle with debt. Her father had borrowed money for church renovations and other projects that didn't go as planned. Bill collectors started calling, and her parents grew worried. When Maya found out, she started saving even more. She skipped vacations, worked extra hours, and even sold her old car to add to her savings. Then 2 months ago, her father called her one evening. His voice sounded desperate. "Maya, the bank is about to take our home," he said. "They've given us 2 weeks. If we don't pay, we'll lose everything." Maya didn't think twice. She didn't ask how it happened or why Daniel couldn't help. She trusted him. That same night, she wired $20,000, her entire savings, to her parents' account. Her friends called her crazy. "You can't just give away your whole savings," one of them warned. But Maya smiled weakly and said, "It's family. I'd do anything for them." She imagined her parents sitting at the dinner table, finally free from worry. She pictured her father smiling at her proudly, maybe even thanking her in front of the church for being a good daughter. But deep inside, there was something else, a quiet ache she couldn't name. She was tired of always fixing things, tired of being the one who gave while others just took. Yet she pushed that feeling away, convincing herself that love meant sacrifice. As she sat in her small apartment in Atlanta, she looked out the window at the city lights and whispered, maybe this time things will be different. Maya didn't know that her act of love would soon break her heart. She had no idea that the people she trusted most, her own family, were about to betray her in a way she would never forget. Maya received a letter from the bank a few weeks later. At first, she thought it was a thank you note confirming the payment she had sent to save her parents' house. But as she opened it and began to read, her hands started to shake. The letter said the Johnson family home was still under foreclosure. She read it again and again, hoping she had misunderstood. But there it was, the same address, the same names, and a final warning that the property would be seized if the payment wasn't made soon. Her heart started pounding. She had sent the $20,000. She even got a confirmation message from the bank when she transferred the money to her father's account. How could this be possible? Maya picked up her car keys and left her apartment immediately. It was a 3-hour drive back to her parents' house, but the distance didn't matter. She needed answers, now. When she arrived, her father was sitting on the front porch, reading his Bible. Her mother stood behind him, watering the plants quietly. The same house she had worked so hard to save now felt cold and distant. "Daddy," she said, her voice trembling as she held up the letter. "What is this?" He looked up slowly. "What do you mean?" "The bank says the house is still under foreclosure. I sent you the money. $22,000. You said that was enough to clear everything." For a moment, her father's eyes flickered with something she couldn't read. Guilt or anger, she wasn't sure. Then he stood up and said calmly, "That letter must be wrong. Maybe they haven't updated their records." Maya shook her head. "No, Reby. I called the bank before coming here. They said no payment was ever made." Her mother's hand froze midair. The water from the watering can spilled onto her shoes, but she didn't move. Maya looked at her. "Mom, please say something." But Esther stayed silent, her eyes glancing quickly toward her husband. Something inside Maya broke. She pushed past them and walked straight into the living room. She knew her father kept all financial papers in a wooden drawer near his desk. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside were bank receipts, account statements. And then she saw it. A transfer slip. Her $20,000 had been sent, not to the bank, but to Daniel Johnson Business Ventures. Her breath caught. No, this can't be real. She stumbled back as her father entered the room. His face was unreadable now. "You shouldn't be going through my things," he said quietly. Maya looked up, tears running down her face. "You used my money for Daniel?" He took a deep breath. "Your brother needed help. He's starting a business, something that can help this family in the long run. Think of it as an investment." "An investment?" Maya's voice cracked. "I sent that money to save our home, not to fund Daniel's dreams." Her mother started to cry softly, but her father's face hardened. "Don't raise your voice at me, Maya. Everything I do is for this family. You don't question your father." Maya felt like the air had been knocked out of her lungs. "You lied to me," she whispered. "I trusted you." For the first time in her life, she saw her father not as the strong man of faith everyone admired, but as someone who had betrayed her deeply. That Sunday, unable to stay silent, Maya stood up during church service. The congregation stared as she spoke, her voice shaking but firm. She told them how she had sent her savings to help her parents, only to find out it was used behind her back. Her father's face turned red with anger. He stood and pointed at her. "You will not shame your family in the house of God. You are ungrateful and disrespectful." The church fell silent. Everyone stared at Maya, but no one defended her. Even her mother kept her eyes down. Her father's final words echoed through the hall. "You are no longer welcome in my home. Never come back." Maya walked out that day, her heart shattered. The people who were supposed to love her had used her, lied to her, and thrown her away. As she stood outside in the afternoon sun, she felt a single truth sink deep into her soul. She had lost her family, but maybe she was finally starting to find herself. Maya was soon treated like an outcast. Word spread quickly through her extended family and the church community. Her father, Pastor Johnson, told everyone that she had disrespected him in front of the congregation. Some said she had lost her faith. Others whispered that she had turned against her own family. People who once greeted her warmly now crossed the street to avoid her. Church members who used to praise her for being a good daughter now looked at her with judgment in their eyes. Even her cousins sent her cold messages online, saying things like, "You shouldn't have embarrassed your father like that." Maya felt completely alone. Every time she opened her phone, she saw pictures of her family smiling at church events, pretending everything was fine, as if she had never existed. At first, she tried to explain her side of the story to a few relatives, but they didn't want to hear it. "No matter what your father did," one aunt said, "you shouldn't have spoken against him publicly. That's not how we do things." Those words haunted her. Was I wrong for speaking out? She wondered. Maybe she could have handled it differently. Maybe she should have just stayed quiet, like her mother always did. But another voice inside her said no. You told the truth. The conflict inside her grew stronger each day. She felt guilty for breaking her family apart, yet she also knew she didn't deserve what they had done to her. It was a heavy mix of love, anger, and confusion that kept her awake at night. A few months later, Maya heard that Daniel's business had failed. He had taken out loans he couldn't pay back and made poor investments. The money was gone, all of it. And because their father had used church funds to support Daniel's project, the church itself was now in trouble. When Maya saw the news online about the church's financial scandal, she didn't feel happy or vengeful. Instead, her heart ached. She thought of her mother, who must have been terrified, and of her father, who cared more about pride than peace. Still, even after losing everything, her parents didn't reach out. They didn't call. They didn't apologize. It hurt deeply. Sometimes, at night, memories from her childhood would come rushing back. Her father yelling at her for small mistakes while Daniel laughed in the background. She remembered covering up for him when he broke things or skipped homework, afraid their father would punish him. She had always been the protector, the fixer, the good child. But it never seemed to be enough. Maya finally realized she had spent her whole life trying to earn love that was never freely given. That's when she decided to start therapy. At first, it was hard to talk about her family. She didn't know how to describe the feeling of being invisible, of giving so much and receiving nothing back. But her therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Lewis, helped her find the words. "You were not wrong for speaking up," Dr. Lewis told her one day. "You were standing up for yourself, something your family never allowed you to do." Those words stayed with Maya. Slowly, she began to rebuild her self-worth. She started going for morning walks, reading again, and cooking her favorite meals without guilt. For the first time in years, she felt like she could breathe. Yet the longing never completely went away. She missed her mother's voice, even her father's old sermons about hope and forgiveness. She missed being part of a family, even a broken one. Then one evening, she received a call from an old church member. The woman spoke hesitantly. "Maya, I thought you should know. Your father's health isn't good. He collapsed last week during a service." Maya's heart sank. "Is he okay?" "They say he's resting at home," the woman said softly. "But he looks weak. Your mother has been struggling to take care of him." After the call ended, Maya sat in silence. Part of her wanted to rush back, to help them like she always did. Another part of her, the one that had learned the hard way, whispered, "Don't go through the same pain again." She wrestled with the decision for days. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw her father's face, not the angry man who shouted at her, but the father who once carried her on his shoulders when she was a child. Tears filled her eyes. "Why do I still care?" she whispered. Because deep down she still loved them. Despite everything, despite the betrayal and rejection, some part of her heart still longed for peace, even if it came too late. But this time, she promised herself one thing. If she ever went back, it wouldn't be as the same daughter who gave up everything for approval. She would return as someone stronger, someone who knew her worth. One evening, Maya's phone buzzed. It was a number she didn't recognize. When she answered, she heard her mother's shaky voice on the other end. "Maya, it's me," Esther whispered. "Your father collapsed 2 days ago. He's home now, but he's very weak. And Daniel is missing." Maya froze. "Missing? What do you mean missing?" "He hasn't come home in a week," her mother said, her voice breaking. The house is in trouble again. The bank has sent another notice. I don't know what to do. Maya felt her heart tighten. So many memories, pain, anger, betrayal, all came rushing back. She had promised herself she would never go back there. But hearing her mother's voice, trembling and afraid, made her grab her car keys without thinking. Hours later, she stood outside her family's house. It looked smaller than she remembered. The garden was overgrown, the paint on the walls chipped. When she walked in, the smell of medicine filled the air. Her father lay on the couch, pale and thin, coughing weakly. Maya, her mother whispered with relief, tears filling her eyes. Maya knelt beside her father. His eyes fluttered open, tired and ashamed. You came, he said softly. Yes, she said quietly. I came. She didn't know what else to say. The silence between them was heavy, full of everything they had never apologized for. Later that night, while helping her mother organize bills and papers, Maya saw the truth unfold in front of her. Piles of medical debt, unpaid loans, and warning letters from the bank lay scattered across the table. One document caught her eye, a loan form with her father's signature on it. But something about the handwriting looked off. She held it closer. Mom, this isn't Daddy's signature. Esther looked up, confused. What do you mean? I know his handwriting. This was forged. Her mother's face went pale. You think Daniel? Maya nodded slowly. He did it. He took another loan in Daddy's name. Her chest tightened. That's why he disappeared. He knew it would all come out. Just then, the front door creaked open. Daniel walked in looking exhausted, his clothes wrinkled and his eyes hollow. Maya, he muttered in shock. You're here? Maya stood, her voice calm but cold. Where have you been? He avoided her eyes. Out. Trying to fix things. Fix things. She threw the forged document on the table. You forged Daddy's signature. You took another loan, didn't you? Daniel's face turned red. You don't understand. Then make me understand, Maya said firmly. Because right now, all I see is a trail of lies and broken promises. Her father tried to sit up, weakly shouting, Daniel, tell me that's not true. But Daniel didn't answer. He looked at the floor, breathing hard. Finally, he burst out. You were always the favorite, the perfect one. Everything you did, they praised you for it. I just wanted them to see me for once. Maya blinked, stunned. You did all this because you were jealous? Daniel's voice cracked. You think I wanted to? I just wanted to prove I could help, too. But everything I touched went wrong. And when you left, they stopped believing in me. Maya felt her anger fade into something sadder, understanding. The betrayal still burned, but now she saw the pain behind it. Her brother wasn't just greedy. He was broken, lost in the shadow of their father's pride and her own obedience. Their father buried his face in his hands. I failed both of you, he whispered. My pride, it blinded me. The room fell silent. Maya took a deep breath. We can't change the past, she said softly. But this has to end now. No more lies, no more pretending. The next morning, she went to the bank with the forged documents. She explained everything. How her brother had used her father's name. How the loans were fraudulent. It was painful, but she refused to stay silent anymore. When the officer asked if she wanted to press charges against Daniel, she hesitated. No, she said finally. But I want the truth on record. I won't take the blame for this family's mistakes anymore. As she walked out of the bank, she felt lighter. For years, she had carried everyone's burdens. Their debts, their secrets, their expectations. But not anymore. Back at the house, she stood by her father's bedside. He looked at her with tears in his eyes. You did the right thing, he whispered. Maya nodded, her voice soft but steady. This time I did it for me. Daniel is arrested for fraud, and their father's church reputation collapses. The news spreads quickly through the community, and people whisper about how everything they once praised the family for has fallen apart. Maya watches all of it from a distance. For the first time, she doesn't feel the need to fix things. She has cried enough, tried enough, and carried enough blame. This time, she chooses peace over pain. Instead of returning to the old house, she decides to start something new, something that gives meaning to her suffering. She uses her experience to create a small nonprofit organization that helps young women who face financial and emotional abuse in their families. Slowly it grows. People begin to listen to her story, not as gossip but as guidance. Months later, her mother visits her quietly one afternoon. She looks tired, older, and filled with regret. With trembling hands, she says, "You were always our strength, Maya. We just didn't want to admit it." Tears fill Maya's eyes, but she stays calm. She takes her mother's hands gently and replies, "I forgive you, Mom." But forgiveness doesn't mean going back to pain. Her mother nods, understanding that this time, Maya is not the little girl who needed approval. She is a woman who has learned her worth. As the sun sets behind her office window, Maya feels something she hasn't felt in years: peace. She smiles softly, knowing that while she can't change the past, she has built a stronger, kinder future. Sparkle's final line. Maya finally realizes that true strength isn't in saving everyone. It's in saving yourself first. Maya walks slowly along a quiet city street in the evening. The sun is setting, and the streetlights begin to glow. She holds a cup of coffee in one hand and smiles softly as she speaks in voiceover. "Family isn't always the people who share your blood," she says. "Sometimes it's the ones who help you heal." Her steps are calm, steady, no longer rushed, no longer heavy with guilt. She passes by small shops, children laughing, people living their simple lives. For the first time in years, she feels free. When she reaches her apartment, she checks her mailbox. There's a letter inside, from her mother. Maya hesitates before opening it. The handwriting is familiar, shaky but gentle. The letter doesn't ask her to come home. Instead it says, "Thank you, Maya, for teaching us what love really means. We were too proud to see your strength, but you helped us understand it." Maya's eyes fill with tears, but this time they're not from pain, they're from peace. She presses the letter to her heart and looks up at the sky, whispering softly, "Maybe this is enough." As she continues walking, her voice returns for the last line. "They told me never to come back, but maybe I was never meant to." The camera fades out as she disappears into the glowing city lights, stronger, wiser, and finally free. Busties. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.